Okay, 9.4. In this lesson, we're going to start simplifying rational expressions and then multiply and divide rational expressions as well. Now, in order to be in simplified form, there must be no common factors. Okay, so since we're looking at it in terms of factors, big thing moving forward is we need to be able to factor. Okay, because now in factored form, we are also in terms of multiplying, and in order to simplify, it needs to be in terms of multiplying. So for example, if we had AC over BC, okay, that's saying A times C over B times C. Since it's in terms of multiplying, these C's would cancel to give us A over B. Now, if it was in the form of A plus C over A, B plus C, those would not cancel because they are not in terms of multiplying. Okay, so moving forward, make sure whenever you are simplifying, it is all in terms of multiplying. All right, so first example, 4x squared over 4x cubed plus 12x. Okay, so I cannot simplify anything at this point due to that being addition. Okay, so what we need to do first is we need to factor. Nothing to factor in the numerator, so we're just going to leave that as 4x squared. And then when I look at 4x cubed plus 12x, finding that greatest common factor will be 4. And each term has an x, so we're going to say 4x, which will leave us with x squared plus 3. Okay, from there then, okay, I'm going to see that the 4 over 4, okay, so the 4's will cancel, and then I have one x in each top and bottom. Okay, on top, x squared. Let's actually do this. X squared will be written as x times x. It's the same thing, okay, just expanding that out. Okay, so then we got x times x squared plus 3. Now we're still in terms of multiplying, but one of those x's will cancel, which will leave one x on top and x squared plus 3 on bottom. Now, again, a lot of people, or a common mistake a lot of people make, is that they'll cancel out those. Okay, but again, due to that being addition, that will not simplify. It has to be in terms of multiplying. So our answer will be x over x squared plus 3. Okay, second example now. Okay, again, everything's in terms of subtracting here. Okay, we need to get it in terms of multiplying. Again, the way we do that is by factoring. Okay, so I'm going to factor the top. X squared minus 5x minus 6 has to be x and x. Okay, since this sign here is minus, these will be opposite. Okay, and then we've got to multiply and get 6. So 1 times 6, 2 times 3. Okay, and the one that will work is minus 6 plus 1. And again, in order to check outside, inside, because I know I'm going to get the x squared, I know I'm going to get the negative 6x, negative 6x, that will combine to get the negative 5x. Okay, so now that we have factored that properly, we need to go to the denominator, we need to factor that. That is a difference of squares again. So if you remember, what am I squaring to get x? X. What am I squaring to get 1? And that's 1. So it's going to factor into x plus 1 times x minus 1. Now that we're in factored form, it's all in terms of multiplying. I'm going to look for common factors in the top and bottom. Okay, so if I start here, x plus 1, is there an x plus 1 on bottom? There is. So therefore, those will cancel. X minus 6 over x minus 1, those are not common factors. So my answer will be x minus 6 over x minus 1. So remember, the big thing in this section is to factor. And we will be factoring a lot moving forward past this lesson as well. All right, so now on this one, okay, now we're not going to have to worry about factoring here because we don't have an expression, okay, but we need to simplify. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate on the top. Again, when we multiply fractions, top times top, bottom times bottom. Okay, so 6 times 10, we're going to get that 60. Or if you want to, which is actually going to be easier, you can simplify that to 3 over 1. Okay, 10 over 18, that would simplify to 5 over 9. Okay, now that I simplified that further, now I'm going to do that multiplying. 3 times 5 will get that 15. X squared times x cubed. So if you remember your rules of your exponents, x squared times x cubed, we are going to add our exponents. So that's 2 plus 3, which will get us x to the 5th. Y cubed times y to the 4th, which would give us y to the 7th. Over, okay, 1 times 9, we will get 9. Okay, and then x squared times no other x, so we just have x squared. But then y squared times y squared will get us y to the 4th. Now, from there, we got to see if we can simplify 15 over 9, which does. 3 goes into both, so 5 over 3. And then we need to simplify our variables. X to the 5th over x squared. Again, we're subtracting the exponent there, so 5 minus 2, x cubed. Same thing with the y, 7 minus 4, y cubed. And remember, in those cases, there's more x's on top, so therefore x should end up in the top. And there will be 3 that are left. Same thing with the y, 3 that are left when you do that 7 minus 4. All right, so now multiplying actual expressions now. Okay, again, you need to be able to factor. Okay, if you are having troubles with factoring, I will have extra practice on OneNote for you to get better at factoring. Okay, so I'm just going to go to each term or each expression, and I'm going to factor. So the 3x minus 27 x cubed. Okay, looking for that greatest common factor. 3 goes into 27, so 3, and there's an x on each term. So 3x times 1 minus 9x squared. So that's, and we will actually be able to factor that one further. But for now, let's concentrate on 3x squared minus 2x minus 1. Okay, no greatest common factor. Has to be 3x and x. We're going to have opposite signs, but I'm not sure which way and where it's going to go quite yet. But the only way to multiply and get 1 is 1 times 1. Okay, so now I need to get negative 2x. So I'm going to have negative there, because when I do that, I want to get that negative 3x, x, which those combine to get the negative 2x. Okay, times 3x squared minus 4x plus 1. So when I factor that, has to be 3x and x again. Has to be 1 and 1. Okay, now, since I have a negative here and a positive here, both signs will be negative. And then nothing to factor there. Okay, now, we still need to factor this, because this is a difference of squares again. So we're going to have 3x. Okay, to get 1, you do 1 squared. So 1, 1. Again, signs are opposite. To get 9x squared, what we need to square is 3x. So we got 1 plus 3x and 1 minus 3x. And then we're just going to rewrite our other factored forms. Now, here's the nice part. Okay, now that it's in factored form and we're multiplying those two terms, okay, it's top times top, bottom times bottom. I'm just going to make it all one fraction. So then we'll have 3x times 1 plus 3x, 1 minus 3x, 3x minus 1, x minus 1, all over 3x plus 1, x minus 1, 3x. Okay, so then again, from there I'm going to look for common factors. What's in both top and bottom, the numerator and denominator. Okay, they both have a 3, so those will cancel. Both have an x. Okay, and then I'm going to look here. 3x plus 1, do I have one up top? I do not. Okay, so we're good there. X minus 1, there is one of those on top, so I'm going to cancel those two terms. And I'm just going to rewrite what is left. So I got 1 plus 3x, 1 minus 3x, and that 3x minus 1 in the numerator, all over that 3x plus 1. So that is the simplified form when we multiply those two rational polynomial rationals. Okay, so now, same thing. Multiplying, still need to factor. Okay, so I'm just going to go to each term and I'm going to factor. Now, one thing that will make this easier is to make this a fraction. If it's just a single expression like that, put it over 1. Okay, so I'm going to start in the top left, x plus 2. There is nothing to factor there. There is something to factor with the 27x cubed plus 8. Okay, so what I'm noticing is those are perfect cubes. Indicator, cube. So I'm thinking, what am I cubing to get those terms? I'm cubing 3x to get 27x cubed, and I'm cubing 2. So if you remember, this is a sum of cubes. You're going to do a binomial times a trinomial. It'll be 3x, okay, 2, and then again square, which will give us 9x squared, multiply, which will give us 6x, and square, which will give us 4. And then for the acronym again, SOAP, that tells us a sign, the same sign, so plus, opposite, always positive. Now we're going to multiply that by 9x squared minus 6x plus 4. Now the reason I did not factor that is because when I factored that sum of cubes, I noticed that 9x squared minus 6x plus 4. Okay, so in that case, again, make it one fraction. Those are common factors. And if you tried to factor that one actually would not factor. Okay, so I'm looking for another x plus 2. There is no other x plus 2. Therefore, our simplified answer will be x plus 2 over 3x plus 2. Now, again, a common mistake I typically see a lot. People like to cancel out those 2's. I cannot do that due to the fact that we are adding. Again, we need to be in terms of multiplying when we simplify our rational expressions. All right, so that was multiplying. Dividing, no. Okay, we're going to still use that same idea. We need to factor first. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to factor anything that I can. 3 over, I can factor a 4. 4 is the greatest common factor. So 4 times x minus 2. Divided by, I can factor out an x out of that one. X times x plus 3. And then finally, x squared plus x minus 6. No greatest common factor. So I'm going to just do trial and error. X times x to give me that x squared. Plus minus, which is telling me I need to be opposite. Okay, so the ways to multiply and get 6. 1 and 6, that's not going to get me to that 1x. So 3 and 2 is what I'm thinking. I need it to be positive. So that 3 will need to be positive and the 2 will need to be negative. Now, division. Here's where division's a little bit different. Dividing by something is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to just rewrite the first term. And again, multiplying by the reciprocal, so I'm going to take the reciprocal of that term, which is just flipping it. So I'm going to have x plus 3 times x minus 2 over x times x plus 3. Now that it's in terms of multiplying, I'm just going to make it all one fraction and look for common terms, common factors. X minus 2 are common. X plus 3 was common. 3 over 4 does not simplify. Therefore, my answer will be 3 over 4x. All right. So, same idea here. Factor, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So, when I factor 8x squared plus 10x minus 3, no greatest common factor. Okay, so my options for 8x squared are 1x and 8x, or 2x and 4x. Again, I always like to try to start towards the middle there, so 4x, I'm going to try 4x and 2x. Now the only way to get that 3 then, okay, is to multiply 1 and 3. Now, I'm going to think about this. Okay, if I do 1 times 4 and 3 times 2, that's going to be 6 and 4. Okay, so let's try that. So we said 3, 1. Okay, so now when I do this, you're going to get 4x and 6x, but our signs have to be opposite. So if I made that plus minus, that's going to be positive 6, negative 4x. That doesn't work. Okay, even if I was to do that and switch the signs, it's still not going to work. So since that is the case, I'm going to flip-flop the 3 and the 1. So now when I check, that's going to get me negative 12x, positive 2x, okay, which gives me negative 10x. I need positive 10x, so in the last case then, I'm just going to flip my signs. Now that turns that to a negative, that to a positive, which gets me that positive 10x that I need. Okay, so that's one of the harder ones that we factored up to this point. Nothing to factor in 4x squared. Okay, divided by 4x squared minus x. X is a common factor there, so we're going to factor that out. X times 4x minus 1. I'm just going to write that as over 1. Okay, so then, since it's division, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. So just rewriting here. And then multiply by the reciprocal, so flipping that term. And looking for common factors now. Because now that we're in terms of multiplying, we can just make it one fraction. 4x minus 1. 4x minus 1 is a common factor. Okay, and then there are no other common factors. So what we're left with is 2x plus 3. You don't need to worry about the 1. And then 4x squared times x. X squared times x. That will get me x cubed. So therefore, there is our simplified answer. Okay. Last one here. Okay, we're going to combine some operations now. Now again, first thing, always factor. Okay, there's nothing to factor with the x, nothing to factor with the x minus 2. And what I would do, anytime you have an expression like that, write it as in a parentheses, times 2x plus 3, nothing to simplify there, or factor there, I mean. And I'm going to write that as over 1, divided by 4x squared minus 9. That is a difference of squares again. So what am I squaring? Squaring 2x. I'm squaring 3. So that will factor into 2x plus 3. And 2x. Oh, I'll rewrite that. 2x minus 3. Nothing to factor with the x minus 2. So then at this point, okay, anytime I see division, I'm going to go to that following term. So the 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3 over x minus 2. And I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to have x over x minus 2 times 2x plus 3 over 1 times the reciprocal, which will be x minus 2 over that 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. Now that we're in all terms of multiplying, I'm just going to make it all one big fraction. And again, at this point, we're going to look for common factors. Okay, so x minus 2 look like they're common factors. 2x plus 3 looks like they're common factors. And then just writing whatever's left. So I'm left with x on top. 1 times 2x minus 3 on bottom. So x over 2x minus 3 will be our answer. Okay, so the big thing there, again, factor, and then multiply by the reciprocal with any term that you are dividing by. All right, so that was 9.4. Your homework for this lesson, 9.4 homework. Okay, simplify if possible. So again, factor, multiply the rational expressions. Okay, again, factor, multiply them out, simplify any common factors. Same thing there, division, multiply by the reciprocal, and then just like that last one we did where we have multiple operations within that. Okay, so if you have any questions, make sure you let me know. Otherwise, have a good day.